So good morning, everybody. It is wonderful to be here with all of you. When I say wonderful, I truly mean that, to be home here on the Central Coast, as I have, I'm typically everywhere but home in my new job, in my capacity when I was chair of agriculture. If I was going to do a good job representing agriculture across California, I needed to know agriculture. And I, as a lifelong resident of this incredible region, I know the Salinas Valley, I know agriculture here on the Central Coast, but I certainly learned a lot while on the road and learning about agriculture in the Central Valley and Imperial Valley up north, especially at a time when this state faced incredible natural disasters and wildfires, a pandemic. And so as Speaker, my approach, having served at the local level for 8 years, has always been about engagement. My most important job as a public servant has been, my ability to listen to residents who put me in this incredible role. And so my job now has been to travel the state, to learn about issues, but more importantly, how we can partner with stakeholders at the local level to make a difference in these communities across California. And the one thing I have learned is many residents across California, whether they're in rural areas or urban areas, are upset. They're upset because they want to see more done for our state, for our partners at the federal level, to focus and zero in on solutions to the issues that impact them most. And so certainly we have a huge responsibility. I have a huge responsibility to work with a historically large Democratic caucus in the Assembly of 62 members, and to certainly always be present in all parts of California, but more importantly, to partner and look for those opportunities where we can truly make a difference in improving the quality of life of residents of this state. But with that, it is great to be here, and especially with all of you. And having been in all parts of California, there is no place like the Central Coast here in the Monterey Bay. There's no place like the region we get to call home, and very fortunate to be able to call this region home for my entire life. And so certainly to be here with all of you who care so deeply about this incredible region. I know this is, I believe, the 9th State of the Region hosted by MBEP, which is a special thing. But certainly want to be very clear, even though in my new capacity as Assembly Speaker, I am first and foremost your Assembly member, or at least one of the Assembly members here on the Central Coast. That is my most important role. Is to always be here for you and to listen to you and to certainly engage. And certainly as one of your members of the Assembly that represent this region, I know Dawn Addis, Assemblywoman from the San Luis Obispo area, will be here after lunch. And I couldn't ask for a better friend or a partner to work on issues important to the County of Monterey and to the Central Coast. And so be kind to her when she's here at lunch. And certainly John Laird, I don't have enough great things to say about John. He and I have known him for over 20 years, and we always work very, very well together to address problems impacting our region. But so, since last year's State of the Region, when we last met, we have made meaningful progress as a state, but we can't waver in our focus on acting with urgency, with immediacy, on the very pressing issue of affordability. As I tell you, I've been to all parts of California, and affordability impacts every resident of this state, whether you're low income, middle income, working families. I recently saw statewide polling that said 60% of Californians, 60% are worried about finding an affordable place to live. Just a couple days ago, I happened to catch what a local news affiliate here in our region had reported, that Salinas was recently ranked 7th, the 7th most expensive place to live in the entire country. 7th in the United States. Clearly impacted by a $925,000 median home price. Salinas, living in Salinas, according to this recent U.S. News and World Report ranking, in Salinas, it's more expensive to live than cities such as New York, Boston, Chicago, and Seattle. Believe that or not. What sets Salinas apart from those cities is we are home to people that earn the lowest wages that help put food on every single one of our tables. And not only our tables, but we help feed the world, at making very low wages, again. And so this is obviously clearly alarming, but as I mentioned, as a lifelong resident of this region, it certainly has made me reflect on my own upbringing. Until I was 8, as many of you know. My family and I, we lived in farm worker housing, not far from here. And eventually my family, they pulled together their savings and bought a very small home in the city of Hollister. My grandfather is a farm worker making $6.33 an hour in the late 80s. I have his pay stub in my office to always put things in perspective. And when you're in Sacramento, I invite you to please stop by my office and see that pay stub. But on $6.33 an hour, it allowed him to save enough, not only support our family, but to save enough money over 30 years to buy his first home and then eventually pay that home off. A farm worker. And so my family paid, they pulled their money together, but at the time, it was a massive investment for my family. But again, it was doable. It was doable. And so that home was so important, obviously, to our family, but it was really important to our upward mobility. And it gave us a sense that there was a permanent place for us in California, but more importantly, that there was a permanent place for us in this incredible slice of paradise on the Central Coast. A region known for its affordability in San Benito and in the Salinas Valley. But when I see these poll numbers and read that Salinas is the 7th most expensive place to live in the country, as I mentioned, I travel the state, I meet with hardworking Californians, in all regions of California, and I worry that the opportunities I had, that they no longer exist except for our most privileged. And that has to change. And I have been and will continue to be relentless in working with all of you to change it and other stakeholders across California. This past legislative session, the governor signed 56 housing bills, creating more opportunities, more affordable opportunities, and addressing the low supply of housing. But we have to do more, we must do more, and we cannot stop. And certainly I'm grateful to the work you all do. I'm grateful to MBEP for creating a space where we can all come together and discuss these critical issues and discuss them candidly. My door is always open because I know that our collaboration and our conversations yield results, and that's what it's about. Residents of this region and across California expect more from all of us, the local, state, and federal level. And so as I mentioned at our state capitol, we're seeing some meaningful progress. This past year, we passed legislation that will deploy broadband more rapidly, bringing more high-speed internet to our communities that need it most. We passed historic infrastructure and energy legislation that will ensure rapid build-out and development that is a landmark win for regions like ours that are hungry for investment. And not to mention addressing really critical and important and overdue infrastructure investments, such as the work at the Pajaro levee. Incredible partnership with John Laird, our regional legislative delegation, but with Jimmy Panetta, Zoe Lofgren, with the governor, who has been an absolute partner in the efforts to rebuild that levee system that should have been rebuilt decades ago. And finally, we all understand the importance of work done at the local level. That's why I appreciate all of the engagement and work and the time you all invest in what you do for the residents of the Central Coast, in the counties of Monterey, Santa Cruz, San Benito. And certainly what makes sense, as I've learned, what makes sense in Los Angeles, what makes sense in San Francisco, may not work for Salinas. It may not work for Watsonville, Monterey, or Santa Cruz. No one knows this community and region better than you. And I'm proud to stand here with you, and I am very, very confident that our time together is going to foster even more solutions here in the Central Coast, and certainly appreciate, again, all the work you do. And like I said, our door is always open, never, ever hesitate to reach out to our office. And please, when you find yourself in Sacramento, please stop by our office. And again, appreciate all you do and look forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much.